Yay. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm a tiny bit late. I'm like a minute late. What's the deal? I had to rush over to the studio, which is a lie because it's obviously a room in my house, or the place where I live. That's very revealing. Right. I'm a tiny bit overwhelmed by all the stuff that we're doing today because this is one of those things where people expect, information. And all I really got's a few thoughts. I've got some information as well, which we'll go over here in just a moment. There's a fourth person there. Hello, fourth person. No, there's only three. Apparently, the way I did it was not impressive. That's fine. I've been not impressive before. Hello, Dow. Yeah, so macOS 10 will be like, chock full of data. This will be less so because it's just a couple of piles of paper here and me. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be fantastic, or it'll be a show anyway. So there we go. Donna's here, peeking out of that little avatar thing, and I got an email telling me that I'm live on YouTube, which is great because otherwise I would have missed it. Got to close a couple of other things. Hold on, sorry. I thought I was ready. I know I said I was ready. Turns out I was not ready. But I will pretend I am now. So what do you say we do a thing? Right, let's do a thing. New hardware announced at the High Speed event and some thoughts around all of it. It is Tuesday, the 13th of October, 2020, and this is macOS 10 Live. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today on this oh so big day. It's a sea change. It's a leap year. It's the 5G iPhone. Second half of the show. Did I say I'm Ken Ray, by the way? Because I am. Second half of the show, we'll be talking about just some general thoughts around what was announced. First half of the show, though, we're going to go over the hardware. And I'm not going to do an exhaustive thing on the hardware because I can't. I started to. I have now watched the event 1.5 times. I haven't read anything else about it yet because I thought, I'll watch it like 2 or 3 times. And then it turns out once I'm actually stopping and taking notes, it takes much, much longer to do. So I have gotten through all the way up to the iPhone 12, I believe, the second time through. But I've got some notes that I took the first time, and there's some other stuff that we'll go over. I don't know where to begin. Do you want to begin with the way they began, with the order that they went as far as the hardware goes? We can do that. They introduced the HomePod Mini, which is basically a HomePod, but smaller and significantly less expensive. It's interesting because everything that they talked about with the HomePod Mini, like, I don't know if that whole thing where you can say, hey, what's my update? I don't know if that works with my current HomePod or not, because I have one of the full-sized HomePods. I'm holding up my hand so you can see that I mean full-size, not mini. I got one of the full-size HomePods, and I tried that thing earlier today. I was like, hey, what's my update? I said, hey, person's name or not person's name, what's my update? And it took about 45 seconds to tell me that it was taking too long and it couldn't tell me. So that was nice. They did the usual bragging on the acoustics, similar to the HomePod launch. They did talk about improved handoff with the U1 chip, which was introduced in last year's iPhone, I believe they said. Because right now, I believe, I'm not really great with the handoff from one device to another. I think you actually have to tap it, right? Tap the phone onto the HomePod or something like that. Normally, I just tell it to play it, or I go into the controls on the phone and send it that way, with AirPlay or something. It was an impressive device, what they showed there, but of course, all the impressive stuff is not the hardware. I'm sure the hardware sounds just as good. It looks just as fashionable or not as the last one did. I like the round thing. I like the mesh. It's still the same 2 colors, white or, space gray. Most everything they talked about was functionality, which I figure is tied to Siri. There was some really cool stuff in that, though, like the intercom thing. I have a feeling, I know if I had one of those, or if intercom ends up working with my old HomePod, that's going to be one of those things like walkie-talkie, where you try it twice, and then, never use it again. At least that's how I did with walkie-talkie. Fun story, a friend of mine wanted me to use walkie-talkie, and then he used some choice language while I was sitting at a meal with a seven-year-old. That was, I believe, the last time I used walkie-talkie. Hopefully, people won't be cursing on the intercom in their house. I like the emphasis on privacy on that, but we can talk about that second half. Really, obviously, the big thing today was the iPhones, which we all knew it was going to be. Um, 5G across the whole line. That is fantastic. I love the colors. See, I should be talking about more intelligent stuff, and yet what I'm talking about is the colors and the fact that the 5G is going across the whole thing. I like the fact that they have the OLED display now across the entire line. Obviously, not with the iPhone 11 or the 10R or the iPhone SE. The phones that they sold before are still going to be LED, LCD. What are they called? I can't even think of it. The new phones, though, have the OLED, which of course gives them the darker darks and the better contrast and all that stuff. Um, Kind of mad for the blue phone, I'll be honest, both in the Pro line and in the iPhone 12 line. What's not in the box, of course, we're not getting the headphones, which we knew, I think. I don't know that we knew that for certain, but we pretty much knew that. And we also pretty much knew based on what we had seen with what happened with Apple Watch and rumors that we've had all year, there's not going to be a charger in the box either. Lisa Jackson talked about the environmental impact of that. Let me see if I can find that because I actually found that interesting. Where is she? Is she still on the roof? Man, I hope not. I hope somebody got her down. Did you see that? Lisa Jackson standing on the roof of Apple Park by herself. They have to have filmed that with a drone, right? Okay, that's a better thing to talk about in the second half. Here we go. 100% recycled rare earth elements in all the magnets. That's pretty cool, especially if you've read the horrible stories about the children under the collapsed stuff, because the way we get rare earth metals is atrocious, or rare earth elements is atrocious. No headphones in the box, no power adapters in the box. There will be a USB-C to lightning cable in the box. So, you got a Mac, you can plug your phone in right there. It's kind of a pain right now that you can't do that unless you've got some kind of adapter. I'm still upset about the headphone thing, not about the headphones not in the box, but the fact that there's not an easy way to plug my headphones with the millimeter, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that. What she did talk about was the fact that there was less waste. They make, if they take out the headphones and they take out the adapter, and they've actually made a significantly smaller phone with the iPhone 12 as well. They're able to make smaller boxes. They can pack more boxes onto a pallet. They reduce the carbon emissions when they send them. They say that it cuts over 2 million metric tons of carbon emissions annually, just the shipping, which is the equivalent of taking about 500,000 cars off the road per year, a little bit less than that. I've already had one person write to me and say that bunk, that what it's really about is just saving money and screwing the consumer. He's not a big fan of the what is it called? It's not. I can't remember the name of it. Where basically Apple goes ahead and blows through however much carbon they're going to blow through, but then they buy energy credits off of somebody who is actually being energy efficient. I don't know whether that's true of Apple corporate or not. When she was standing on top of Apple Park, I mean, she's surrounded by solar panels. So I don't think that that is the case there. I know your local mall has not installed solar panels specifically for the Apple Store. So some of it you are doing carbon trade. That's not what it's called, but some of it you are doing a trade off with people that are actually using green energy. I know that Apple does where it can. I say I know. I know that Apple says it does where it can. I believe their PR hype, because why would they keep talking about it otherwise? Same thing as the responsibly sustainable forests that they're using for their, paper products and things like that. Getting all these terms wrong. I understand being upset at not getting the free thing that you used to get for free. I would kind of be curious if the person who wrote to me, and maybe I'll write back, I don't know, although this isn't really the point. I would be kind of curious to know whether they have a bunch of the power adapters laying around, if they have a bunch of the headphones that we got every year, every 2 years when we bought our new iPhones laying around. I have a pair of Lightning earpods that have never been unfurled. Haven't needed to because I have a pair of those that are fine. And then for these, the 3.5 millimeter jack, I have this adapter that I lose on a daily basis. If I ever really lose this, it's going to be tragic. We knew it was coming. I mean, they telegraphed the fact that that wasn't going to happen. And really, this is probably something we should be talking about in the next segment anyway, because again, that's sort of the ancillary stuff. This is supposed to be the hardware side, but I'm like a gerbil because there's all this information and I'm trying to like get my little paws on all of it. Interesting stuff about the A14 Bionic. First 5 nanometer processor in a smartphone, which we knew was going to be coming. TSMC, of course, has turned itself over to that. 11.8 billion transistors, which is roughly 40% more than in the A13. Got a 6-core CPU, which is up to 50% faster than what is starting to look like a lackluster phone. Don't let it hear me say that. 4-core GPU, which is up to 50% faster graphics. Machine learning, they talked about a lot. 16-core neural engine, which is up to 80% faster. 11 trillion operations per second the thing is capable of. And the machine learning accelerators can work up to 70% faster. They claim console game quality with this with the update, including a version of League of Legends that's coming out for the phone. The guy from Riot Games, Michael Chow, says that if you wanted to really compete in League of Legends before, you had to be tied to a desktop. He says now, no Wi-Fi, no desktop. You can be anywhere with the 5G and with the iPhone and the processors and all of it. He's basically comparing it to a console level game or even a PC level game, which in some respects is higher than a console level. The MagSafe charging thing was kind of interesting. I think we were all hoping, I don't know what we were hoping for exactly, but when they started talking about MagSafe, I think we all remember what MagSafe was like on our computers. That is another thing that Apple got rid of that I miss because I have nearly knocked this computer off on the floor a million times because the USB-C charger, yes, doesn't let go the way the MagSafe used to let go. The MagSafe is still kind of interesting, though. It looks like there are magnets inside the phone that sort of line up whatever charging thing you're lining up with, as long as it's made for it. Apple has made a dual charging thing for both your phone and your watch. It folds up nicely for when you go traveling, they say, although they also say that Belkin has already made a stand and something else, I can't remember what, and they're working on a car mount as well. So that's the MagSafe thing, which they're also very proud of. You know, honestly, they get into the technical stuff and it's like, okay, well, that's technical stuff. That's great. I like the fact that when I go to get my next iPhone in probably another year, that I'm going to have the best iPhone that's available for the price, that I'm willing to pay at that time. I'm happy that it will have the OLED display. I'm happy that probably a lot of stuff in the Pro line and the Pro Max line will have found their way down to what I assume will be an iPhone 13 when I get it. Trying to remember some stuff about the iPhone Pro Max. Again, I'm turned on by the colors. There was lots of stuff there about the camera. I actually wonder if that's what the whole point of the Pro is just the camera. But we can talk about that a little bit next segment. It does have the LiDAR. It's interesting because they talked about the LiDAR and the fact that you can. There was one demonstration that they showed where they said that it might take like 4 or 5 months to lay out an office if they were trying to. It wasn't an office, it was like a workroom, like a lab. If they were trying to build it by hand or decide how the workflow was going to go by hand. And they would mock the whole thing up in temporary materials, including cardboard. And they claim with the LiDAR on the iPhone 12 Pro or 12 Pro Max, that they're actually able to reduce all that and do it in a couple of hours. Now, I would think if you want to see if you can actually walk around it and it's really going to work, you would still have to do the mock-up. But it was an interesting demonstration. The only mention they had of augmented reality was in the big voiceover, like huge, here's what you need to know about iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, the promotional video, basically, after everybody had already talked about it. That term may have been mentioned once or twice. And certainly they did show some AR applications, like the one I was talking about a moment ago with the lab. But yeah, apparently we're not getting AR, like a real AR application anytime soon. which is fine because we're not gonna get the glasses, and that's what I really think you need if AR is really gonna be a thing for you. Glasses, goggles, whatever. Helmet. I love the idea of Apple introducing a helmet that they sell to people to walk around. Other thing you probably wanna know is how much they're gonna cost and when you're gonna be able to get them. The way that they are making them available and the prices they're making them at which they're making them available is kinda weird. I guess I should start back actually with the HomePod Mini since we started with the HomePod Mini. That is going to be available for order when? The 6th of November. It's going to be available for order. It will ship the week of November 16th. So not 1 week later, as the phones generally do, but like a week and a half after that. It'll start shipping the week and a half after that. $99 for the HomePod Mini. Bad compared to an Amazon Echo Dot or whatever, but that they're not even comparable, I don't think. Really not bad compared to how much the HomePod was when it first came out. I know I got mine at a discount, so like 159 I think is what I paid for mine. Aren't they like 2 something, 3 something? I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, if a HomePod Mini or a few HomePod Minis are your thing, because that was another thing they talked about it. See, I'm like a gerbil. I'm all over the place. You can get one HomePod Mini, and that's going to be great for your office, for your bathroom, for your garage, wherever you want it. If you get two HomePod Minis, they will automatically pair up as stereo speakers if they're in the same room, or you can have them all through the house and play music all through the house, the same music as you move around from place to place to place. Great for parties, which you should not be having in these socially distancing times. Yeah. Right. So the other things, the iPhone 12, iPhone 12 mini, iPhone 12 Pro, and iPhone 12 Pro Max, totally not a mouthful. The iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro both go on order this Friday, the 16th of October. They will start shipping the 23rd of October. The iPhone 12 is $799, which if memory serves is $50 more than the iPhone 11 was, but it comes with 5G and, the OLED display. Honestly, the step up in hardware, I think it's $50 more, but if it's $50 more, I mean, that's really not bad compared to with the step up in hardware you might have expected to pay. As for the iPhone 12 Pro, it actually stays the same price, $999, and they've doubled the starting capacity on that. Used to start at 64 gigabytes for storage, now starts at 128. And then for some reason, the iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12 Pro Max are available to order much later. Not much later, 3 weeks. November 6th is when those two go on pre-order. iPhone 12 mini will be $699. The iPhone 12 Pro Max, $1,099. Again, orders start for those on Friday, the 6th of November, which means they ship when? Friday the 13th. At least the first ones. That's probably if you get your order in on that Friday. If you get your order in maybe Friday through Sunday, you still get them on the 13th. It will be interesting, though not informative, to know how long the wait is after that first weekend. Because, like always, we won't know if that's because everybody ordered one model or because Apple didn't have enough to go around. Usually, if you order on the Friday, you get it the following Friday. If you wait a day or two to decide, that can push your order out a few weeks. So make your plans accordingly. We'll go into the less data specific, more just stuff I was thinking about stuff in a moment. But first, I want to remind you about other stuff that I do or other stuff that I'm doing. So Chuck Joyner is having a bunch of people together on his show, Mac Voices, tonight. Might even be Mac Voices Live. Honestly, I don't remember. I know that we're getting together at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I don't know when that will be turned into a podcast. I don't know when you'll be able to watch it. If you can watch it live, well, it'll be like this, but with more people. So that's a thing that I'm doing. Look for that in the next couple of days. In a few minutes, starts up again tomorrow, talking about the stuff that was announced today at the Apple event. And of course, tomorrow, a lot of what you just heard will be put together much more succinctly for macOS 10. So, yeah, keep an ear on all that stuff, if you will. Right. Here's the other stuff. just sort of the random stuff that occurred to me as I was watching it and stuff that I'm still wondering about. Let's start with some of the things tied specifically to 5G, and I don't know where to go. This will also probably be all over the place. What was up with the emphasis on Verizon? AT&T has 5G, and we may now have a better idea of why the AT&T guy was like, "Yeah, I don't even know who wants to pay for 5G." Nuts to them. It could be because AT&T knew that Apple is now in bed with Verizon on its 5G promotion. Does that mean anything? I don't know. It could be like buying naming rights to a stadium, right? You go to Oracle Arena or wherever, go to Bridgestone Arena, and if they tomorrow change the name of Bridgestone Arena to, Carly Fee Arena, that's a friend's joke. If they still do that, I mean, it's still the same team playing in there, right? Apple is now talking a lot about Verizon. Verizon is now talking a lot about iPhone 5G. Verizon was going to talk a lot about iPhone 5G anyway, unless, of course, Samsung was going to start paying them major bucks to start talking about them more. It's possible that the reason that the AT&T guy was like, "I'm not even sure who would pay more for it." I mean, it's just adding another thing to why he was downplaying 5G so much. Maybe it's because they know they have an inferior product. Maybe it's because they still want to sell cable service. Maybe it's because they want to try to take a bit of the shine off of the iPhone 5G because they know that Verizon gets to legitimately brag about it while everybody else kind of gets to brag about it. Watching the gentleman from Verizon, I want to call him Gunther. I'm pretty sure that's not right. Boy, was he Teutonic. What is his name? Not Bob Borchers. That's the guy from Apple. Hans Vestberg. I'm sorry, Hans, not Gunther. Hans Vestberg. Watching him talk about it, I found myself thinking, this is still like a long hill to climb, or a tough hill to climb, as far as getting people to understand the different levels of 5G. Maybe T-Mobile wasn't wrong doing a cake with Betty Crocker, because it gets kind of confusing. He starts talking about the ultra wideband thing, right? Because the ultra wideband, or the wave, I suppose, or the millimeter wave, or the wave, that's going to work in densely populated areas, which T-Mobile pointed out in their promotion yesterday can be blocked by trees and glass and the occasional umbrella. But if you're in sort of a centrally located place where they're blanketing with that, that's going to be super high speed, and that's great. And they spent a lot of time talking about that, and then I believe they said it's available in about 4 cities right now. It's going to be available in 16 cities later this month and 60 cities by the end of the year. But that's still going to be like right in the densely populated areas, which we shouldn't be in unless we happen to live there, because hashtag social distancing, hashtag these uncertain times. He did actually mention that. He was like, in all of these places, which I know we're going to be able to safely go back to someday. That's money well spent. I like the fact that you don't have to choose a model of iPhone based on whether or not it has 5G. Rolling out 5G to all of the iPhones was just an excellent idea. Apple is leaving it to the carriers to explain why you need this, why you might want it. The decision making is going to be on the carrier side. This is not an ad. In fact, so much this is not an ad, I won't say the name of the carrier, but my carrier has 5G if you have a 5G phone. My carrier has 4G if you have a 4G phone. Such is the case for all of these phones as well. If you're someplace where 5G doesn't work, it'll default to LTE or 4G. I know that my carrier is not going to charge more for 5G versus 4G. I don't know if that's the case for Verizon. I haven't had time to look. We do know that that is the case for AT&T, that they are going to charge more because, again, you had their CEO of their wireless area sitting there saying, "I don't know why people would pay more for it, but, they can, I guess." The more I think about it, I think that's just sour grapes on his part. Explaining 5G is still going to be confusing. So they talked about the ultra wideband, and they said it's available in these 60 cities. But then they talked about their 5G nationwide, which they say is available all across the country. I believe T-Mobile actually claims a wider area and about 30 million more people covered, somewhere between 30 million and 50 million. I can't remember if Verizon said that they covered 180 million people or 200 million. I know the T-Mobile said they cover 230 million. Uh, okay. I mean, you still have to get it in your hand, you still have to see. The other thing that I found really interesting is I'm just an average consumer. I mean, I'm just an average consumer, that's it. I know that when it is time for me to get a new phone, my iPhone is gonna have 5G, and that's fine with me. It doesn't really make me wanna rush out. I kinda wanna rush out because I kinda wanna know the difference, but it sounds like there's no guarantee that you're gonna see a noticeable difference depending on where you live or where you happen to be or how you happen to be using it. Um, there was an emphasis on games, which I'm sure appealed to a lot of people. There was an emphasis on photography, which I'm sure appealed to a lot of people. There was an emphasis on video, which I'm sure appealed to a lot of people. And finally, there's the emphasis on styling and price. That's where they got me. I want that blue phone. I love my yellow phone, but that blue phone is just pretty. It's fascinating. I mean, it feels to me like it's the next iPhone. That's what it feels to me like it is. I did not see anything that said to me, "You have to have this phone." I was still looking for somebody to say, "Here's why 5G is gonna be the best." And mostly what we saw was speed. Though if you're listening to them, you're only getting that speed in optimal conditions. I believe they said ideal conditions. Like, Verizon actually said that they've gotten download speeds as fast as 4 gigabits, as far as 4 gigabits or bytes in the one of the two, that they got that in optimal conditions. Although then the guy who talked about the iPhone antenna and who talked about the 5G service, Arun Matthias, said that they'd gotten speeds as high as 3.5 down for the iPhone. 5G is still going to be confusing. It's going to be confusing for a while. I'm going to be the guy who doesn't really care that much when it's time for my next iPhone. And, I may go nuts and end up ordering one this weekend. I probably won't because I really don't need it. I'll probably just, sort of sit there, white knuckling the whole thing, not hitting the buy button as everybody else buys theirs. There was one other hardware thing I forgot to mention. The what is it called? Ceramic shield, which they grow like a kind of crystal inside the glass, apparently. So it's 4 times more likely to not break if you drop it, which will not mean anything the first time you drop it and it breaks. There's plenty there to like. There was nothing there that I, personally felt like I had to have, which is not to say it's a disappointment at all. I think I'm just now, I buy iPhones the way I buy iPads, the way I buy computers. When it's time for a new one, I'll go out and find the best one for me. I don't think I've ever had a new iPhone the year after I got another iPhone. That's not true. The first one. I went from iPhone to iPhone 3G that year, but that was just so I could pass my other phone off to somebody else. I'm not the guy who buys the new thing every year. There's a lot here to love, and I'm really looking forward to loving my next iPhone when it's time for me to get my next iPhone. And those, my friends, are very cursory, very preliminary thoughts. I am really curious. In fact, I would love it if you would do this. If you would please send me your thoughts on today's event, I would love to share those tomorrow right here. So there are 2 ways to do that. You can leave comments on this video. That would be fantastic. Or you can send me an email. I think I would honestly prefer that. info@macosken.com. And if you put in the headline something like thoughts on high speed or macOS Ken Live would be a great thing to put there. Did you see anything that you loved? Did you see anything that you hated? Do you have any concerns about the 5G messaging? Do you have any insights on the Verizon thing? Basically, if there was anything that popped out to you about today's show, how did they get Lisa Jackson on the roof? Here's the thing that's amazing. I don't know if I mentioned this a moment ago. I think I wanted to hold on to it. It's nuts to me. She was up there by herself because we saw the drone come in on her and she was standing there by herself. And then she stood there, I assume, talking to a drone. And then, I hope she's okay. Please do send me your thoughts. I hope that will be tomorrow's show. info@macosken.com or leave comments here on this video. Let's see, I've got 3 shows coming out tomorrow, plus this one again. So throw a rock and you'll hit me. Please don't throw it hard. Bah. And that's how we do the thing. Hang on, I'm going to stop that recording and then I'm going to put on my glasses and I'm going to talk to everybody who's still here. Which I know I was already doing, but I mean address you directly. David, oh, you missed the event? Well, that was really the worst recap you'll ever hear then, because I was just kind of all over the place. Hopefully it wasn't the worst recap. Here's the worst recap. You ready? Yeah, they did stuff and then things and it ended. Oh, there was something I meant to talk about. Shoot. Oh, well. I started watching it on the Apple, on the events page on Apple TV. And after the 4th time of it stopping and then me missing something and having to skip, I went on the same Apple TV to the YouTube app and did not have another problem. I'm not surprised that YouTube was able to deliver because it's what YouTube does. 5 years later, I'm a little surprised that Apple wasn't able to, keep a steady stream. And again, people are excited about the iPhone 5G, so that could be why. I actually think I know you, Rad3D. Not know you, but I think I recognize your name. Good to see you here. Thank you for being here. Web Bixby in the house, everybody. Wayne is here. HomePod is $299. Wasn't it originally more than that? Okay. Yeah, that was saying HomePod was $329, which is what I thought. I know the price had come down some. Not as good as the price I got mine for, but, it's because I knew a guy who knew a guy. Oh, okay. All right, Rob. Yes, that's why I know who you are. Hi, and thank you, and thank you. It's a shame that music isn't backward compatible to spatial audio. They could add a codec that would do that. David, if you would send an email saying a bit more about that, I would like to talk about that tomorrow. I'm not 100% certain what you mean. But if you could actually send something on that, that would be fantastic. Like that the full lineup are all different models of iPhone 12. That naming will help reduce model confusion. Yeah, it still seems like it's getting a bit weird. I'd like for it to just be iPhone 12. And then when you walk in, you choose the one that's right for you. But of course, we're not walking in anymore, so it does make sense. It makes sense that it has a different naming convention. That was a long time ago, though. A long time ago, I can't remember anymore. There was something that they did that I just wanted it to be, just call it the thing. Oh, I think it's iPhone, actually. Rather than iPhone 12 and iPhone 11 and iPhone SE and iPhone 13 and iPhone whatever. I kind of just want it to be iPhone and you choose the one you want. But especially now that we're not going to stores to do that, that would be much more difficult, I think. Wow. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. I don't even know what to say to that. Right. So I guess we're probably about done. Hang on. Annual upgrade, paying an extra 3 or 4 payments without a new phone. Anyone talking about that? Again, somebody may be talking about that, David. I honestly, I watched the event. I am ashamed to say I took a nap because I was up late last night, so I got up early for the thing. So I crashed for like half an hour or something. Then I started watching the event again. So I haven't even read anything anybody has said about it. I saw that a couple of the Wall Street people have, offered their 2 cents, which is probably worth easily 4 cents, maybe 6. But I haven't seen whether anybody's talking about that yet. So there we go. David's going max to max. Interesting. Oh, that's really horribly inappropriate. Okay. Fine. I guess I'm out. Hey, thanks everybody for sticking around and chatting and for being here. And yeah, more filled out macOS Ken tomorrow. Take care.